Woo, pre-rut. I can't help but get a little bit pumped just thinking about it as we talk about it in this video. Pre-rut, man, that's where things are kicking off. Whitetails, the does are coming into estrus, sometimes as early as mid-October. I mean, and things really start to light up in the woods. You can start to make sense of what's going on in your property. You might not be the best hunter in the world, but all of a sudden you notice there's scrapes. And if you pay attention to those scrapes, well, think about it in your head. There's a corridor in between. They're going from point A to point B. It helps you figure out the pattern. Think a little bit deeper about these things, and you can ultimately get on these big bucks and figure out their pattern and catch them at their weakest point. How do we do that? Let's get into it in just a second. This is the time of year in which we're booking a lot of clients. We're probably getting close to nearly booked up. If you want to get a visit on the books, whitetaillandmanagementservices.com. Send me a message, hit that contact button, send me an email. Let's get you on the books for figuring out what food plots you need to plant, when to plant, how to plant, what to plant, timber stand improvement, which one's the right method for you. Can you make money on your property? Can you pull the bucks off your neighbors? Your neighbors are killing all the deer. You need to change something. Call me up. Shoot me an email. Number 2, eurooptic.com. Go to that link in the description. Code WLMSVTX10 at eurooptic.com. Should get you some money off. If that code doesn't work, double check the description. Otherwise, go to vortexoptics.com. Get yourself some money off on some sweet shirts and apparel. 20% off, WLM20. So, pre-rut. This just gets me pumped up thinking about it, guys. Pre-rut's here. A lot of you guys have sat on your haunches. You kind of just didn't go out early season. I don't agree with it, but you did it. And it's okay because it takes one good day in late October to get it done. So if there was ever a time in which, you know, the whitetails are laying down the most sign, this is it. Like if you want to read sign and hunt the sign, this is it. More so than even November. November, it's a little bit late. You get into those first weeks of November and the sign might be a week old, but that buck might be 2 miles away because he's chasing, he's seeking, he's looking for does. He doesn't have time to lay down sign as much because he's breeding. He's getting close to peak breeding season. So this is the time of the year. If the sign pops up, you get your butt in the stand. What kind of sign are we looking for? There's a couple things. The first one that I like to look for that we don't talk about in late October much is rubs. And don't get me wrong, there can be a lot of rubs everywhere, but where there's a rub, there was a buck. And we can make sense of the situation. Pay attention to which side of the tree the rubs are on. Why would we do that? Because if they're all on a certain side of a tree, he's coming from a certain direction. What was in that direction? Was it the food or was it the bedding? Okay, now we can probably make sense of what time of day he may or may not have been hitting that transition area, because he was probably heading out to the food when he did it, which means he was probably there in the evening checking for does on that food source. You start putting all these puzzle pieces together and you can really figure these things out. Rubs are super important to me for that reason, guys. Where there's rubs, there was a buck. And if they're fresh this time of year, I mean, they are there. They are there and they are seeking. So think about where your does hang out and go to those areas and hunt them because they're seeking the first hot doe. These does might not be ready to breed for another 2 weeks, maybe 3. Maybe 4. Some of them might be ready to breed now, but regardless, they're going to be bumping does, traveling, looking to breed and get that first doe that comes into estrus, especially the mature bucks. And this is the time of the year in which I've had a lot of success killing some mature bucks. Some of the bucks behind me, I killed in that October 25th time range because they were just seeking, working sign, or making sign and working scrapes. Number 2, scrapes. Guys, there are scrapes everywhere. Should you sit and hunt over a scrape? Probably not. I know it sounds like a dumb thing to say considering there's scrapes everywhere and this is the time of year in which deer check scrapes super frequently. Just sitting over a random scrape, what I'm getting at, is not necessarily a great idea. Make sense of your situation. If that scrape's just kind of out in the middle of nowhere and you can't really think to yourself, well, there's no food source close. There's no bedding that I know of close. Well, why was that deer there? He could have been there at 2 in the morning. If I am going to hunt a scrape, my favorite single most important scrape to hunt, and I killed my Illinois 11 or 12 pointer this year on public land this year. If I'm gonna hunt a scrape, I'm gonna hunt the first scrape outside the bed. So maybe you scouted earlier in the season and you know where the beds are, where the bedding area is. If you hunt that first scrape outside of that bed, there's a dang good chance that buck's going to come and check that when he gets out of bed. They're still bedding down at this point of the season. They're not just running around 24/7 like they might in the rut. But if you can hunt that that pre-rut time and pay attention to the first scrape outside of the bedding area, then that is the best scrape to hunt. Because let's face it, they're laying down tons and tons and tons of scrapes. So which one do you sit over? Well, now you know. That's the one. So pay attention to that. Bring your rattling antlers with you if you're in a low pressure area. If you're hunting in Michigan, probably don't bring your rattling antlers. If you're in Northeast Wisconsin, don't bring your rattling antlers. If you're hunting someplace where there's a lot of hunting pressure, don't bring your rattling antlers. But always have that grunt tube on you. And be prepared that if you see a buck in the distance, you give him a grunt or something like that. Don't blow up the grunt call. Keep him guessing. If you grunt 10 times at him and he's just looking and he's like not seeing anything, he's like, seems a little off. I'm not going to come over there. You grunt once and just pique his interest. Next thing you know, he's turning, he's coming for you. So don't overdo it, but make sure you have a grunt call with you. With that being said, those are some of my top tips for those pre-rut hunts. Pre-rut, some of you are waiting for November, some of you shouldn't be. Get your butt out there in October and kill a giant in pre-rut. It's one of the most underrated times to kill one. So get your butt out there, guys. You like these videos? Like, comment, subscribe. If you do that, you're always entered in our giveaways, and who doesn't like free stuff? See you next video.